Well, that was fun. That was easy. And the Knicks continue to win basketball games. Give me 1 second. I need to grab my phone here. Hold on. So I can have my stats here to pull up if need be. We are doing audio only in this show, as we usually do on the first of back-to-backs, because these episodes have a short shelf life. The Knicks will go back out there in less than 7 hours as I record this here 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, as I am off from everything today. So I've taken this time to talk about this Knicks win last night over the Toronto Raptors in Canada, 111-95. The Knicks continue their dominance over that team, that organization. And the dominance didn't start with a winning streak. It started with the trade that clearly saw the Knicks win that trade. And then they started winning against them a bunch, and I believe it's like, Jesus, it's got to be up to double figures, maybe even closer to 15 than 10 in a row. But yes, a 111-95 victory last night in Canada. It was an easy, not an easy win. No, the Raptors would not go away. But even when they got close, the Knicks never relinquished their lead, and they just played good, clean, modern basketball, right? They were moving the basketball. They were getting up open three-point looks that they were generating. If I could pull up here, let me open up the app, because I feel like a lot of their baskets were assisted last night. Going back to the third, Knicks Raptors. Let's see. So the Knicks last night made 46 baskets, and how many of them were assisted? 32 of them were assisted. I believe 22 of their 28 makes were assisted in the first half. So just a really good game in terms of ball movement and player movement to get those connective possessions. But yeah, I mean, early on in the game, it was OG Anunoby who was clearly on point offensively. He loves playing this team. Brunson was helping him out early. And both of them had good games on both sides of the ball. But OG finishes with 15 points against his former team, 5 for 6 shooting, 2 for 2 from 3. He is now 9 for 14 from 3 in his last 3 games, so that's something to keep track of. Obviously, he had been cold since returning. Big-time shot making from him, big-time defense. He had a big rebound with 4 minutes and change left. Led to a Mikal Bridges bucket on the other end. Brunson, not his best game, but you look up and he goes for 26 and 10. Knocks down a big corner in the third quarter as Toronto was on this 8-0 run, kind of getting scary. Big time 3 from him. And he made big plays down the stretch in the fourth quarter too. He got buckets. I think 11 of his 26 came in the fourth. There was one sequence where the Knicks get a big stop, leads to a Brunson 3-pointer to push the lead to 7. On the very next time down for Toronto, Brunson grabs a big rebound in front of Jakob Poeltl off of a stop. Mikal had a big night on both sides. I mean, his help defense remains excellent this year. We talk about his issues at the point of attack, getting over the top of ball screens, handling physical guards who can drive on him with ease and post him. Yes. But when Mikal is in help, when he's off ball, there's not many wings in the NBA who are better than him. His activity, his wingspan, it just really shows up. Even when it doesn't show up in stocks, right, in steals and blocks, you just watch these games and you can see the impact he makes. And on the other end, he only took 2 3-pointers, but one of them was a really nice-looking one. The one that he made, it was a relocation 3. Really good at that. There's not a lot of guys who can move off the ball like him. You know, maybe Shamet's close. Deuce can do that well, but Mikal Bridges is probably the best off-ball wing on this team. Josh Hart played one of his better games in a while. Let me look at his final numbers here. So Mikal's final numbers, 11 points, 4 for 7 shooting. Josh Hart had a good game. Finishes with 12, 7, and 7. Also had 3 steals and 2 blocks. He was 6 for 7 overall. 6 out of 6 on his twos. 0 for 1 from 3 and 0 for 2 at the line. But Josh finishes with a plus 14, which was the best among the starting lineup. I thought he was playing good basketball, running in transition in those Alvarado, Mitch, Hart lineups, even running in transition in those Cat Hart lineups, right, in the second quarter to avoid those cross benches that we talk about. So doing that, the usual, but really some more big-time defensive plays, and his defense has taken an uptick in the last few games. One possession where he saves a loose ball from going out of bounds on the defensive side, gets the Knicks a possession there, a block at the basket. He blocks quickly at the end of the first half, and a big time performance down the stretch with rebounding and defense. And then made some excellent passes too. He had some really nice looking passes to Mikhail. One of those was for that relocation 3. A nice pass to Shamet, and a really nice pass down to the basket to Cat, who we'll talk about in a minute, Cat. But you go to the second unit, not their best night. Shamet had some bad moments, a couple big makes. Mo Diawara did some good things in this game. He finishes 8 points, 3 for 6 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3. So you love the 3-point aggressiveness. That remains. You like to see him put the ball on the floor. He had one possession where he puts it on the floor, attacks a closeout, gets to the basket, didn't finish, but did have a real rough patch there for a minute in the third quarter, which eventually led to him getting benched. He had some really rough possessions on both ends, and it all came successively. So it led to a Toronto 8-0 run. That's when he was pulled. So not his best night. Mitch Robinson, though, I did feel like was the best of the Knicks guys coming off the second unit. And so I'm going to give him the game ball from the second unit. 14 game balls now this year for Mitch. 2 points, 10 rebounds, 2 steals. Some nice pick and rolls with Alvarado. Those two have developed a nice chemistry. He had a nice one where he threw it down in the first quarter. Alvarado found him up high. Continues to be good in pick and roll with Brunson. A nice steal in the gap. He was in the right place, right time, but it was still nice. Knicks make a play on the strong side, force the ball to kick to the weak side. Mitch is right there. You saw more Cat Mitch minutes. I thought you actually got some good offense. They used them in a horn set. I would like to see that more. But overall, a nice game for Mitch. He did hurt his ankle in the middle of this game, but returned back to play. Obviously not playing tonight, second of it back-to-back. But a good game for Mitch on both ends. And that's where I think I really want to start, because I loved the Knicks game plan. You could see entering this game, the Knicks came into it not just, all right, we're a good team who's playing a team that we've had their number. It's the first of a back-to-back. Let's just get this over with. No, they came into this one with a specific strategy on how to stop this Raptors offense. That's not an amazing offense, but they knew what they were doing. And they played some of the best defense that they've played. Now, since January 11th, which is the last 24 games for the Knicks, they are the number 1 defense in the NBA, which has bumped them all the way up to 7 overall in the season, which is crazy to say, because at one point they were like 23rd. And last night was another example of why the Knicks have bumped up to 7, and this is per NBA.com. But the game plan was clear, and the game plan was well executed. Now, if you look up at the box score, RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley, they had their moments, especially late, willing the Raptors back. Quickley finishes with 13 and 12. RJ, 20 points on 13 shots. And, of course, Brandon Ingram got his 31 points. He did take advantage of, the backside by getting to his outside foot to get to the Cat matchup. He broke him down a few times, right? The Raptors were running him on ball screens and double drag actions to put OG behind so he could get to Cat. got to Mitch once in the first half. A nice off screen to put him on Diawara, or to put Diawara behind and get him back to Cat. Got a bucket on him. He was hunting some of those Landry Shamet switches. But overall, at the end of the day, you look up and the Knicks held the Raptors to 95 points, and they held Ingram to 5 points in the third quarter, 0 points in the fourth quarter. And that's because they had a plan. They mixed up when to hedge, when to go over, when to go under. They were in ice coverage on Ingram actions, but they made their rotations in the back off of it. They were going under on some of his pick and rolls. If he was trying to hunt the Brunson switch, Brunson would go over, or would go under, just not conceding that. They were going under on Scotty Barnes pick and rolls. The only pick and rolls they were really consistently going over on was Quickly, right, as one of the few guys on the team who can shoot the ball. But they were kind of doing what teams do to the Knicks with Cat and Hart, and the Knicks were cross-matching Mamu and Scotty so they could switch those pick and rolls, and that was effectively working. They were sending weak side help to the first side very often, so they were just bringing extra help to the ball, and they could afford to do that because Toronto is a mediocre shooting team, and they were still recovering and rotating nicely on the second side off of the help. And if the Knicks were in a high coverage, they made their weak side tags and rotations in the back off it. They sent rim help pretty much off everybody except for Quickly, but again, they recovered enough. So it was just very connective. They knew what they were doing. Everyone was playing sound defense. The wings have been awesome. They played very connective defense. OG back to the level that you expect of him. Fighting over screens especially has been something he has been inconsistent on. Better last night, Mikal Bridges sending rim help but closing back out aggressively enough, but at the same time staying disciplined on the closeout so he didn't give up the open drive. Really good game from him. I can't stress enough. Again, Josh Hart's been better. Thought he did a nice job on Ingram. And as we continue to say, this whole thing starts when your two weakest defenders aren't the worst defenders ever, which there was a stretch where they were both awful. But Brunson has been stepping up as a weak side helper lately, just sliding over, and whether it's drawing a charge or getting a stop as low man at the basket, he's been good there. Cat looks really sharp defensively. Are there still going to be discipline issues when he's in drop coverage? Wrong side of the ball screen gets beat, of course. The fouling. But his switches continue to be good. When he was switched onto Barnes, I thought he held up well. Barnes isn't exactly the quickest of the wings, but did a nice job on him. The rebounding continues to be exceptional, which I think people continue to underrate. Rebounding is a part of defense. You are literally ending possessions. And he goes and grabs that thing, and he keeps the ball away from the defense when he grabs the board. And the rim protection's been better. He's rotating over, rotating down nicely. So I thought he was good. And I thought Cat was the best Knick on the floor among the starting lineup. I really enjoyed his game. You can make an argument it was Hart, but I thought Cat was fantastic. 13 game balls now on the season for Cat. 21 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 10 for 17 from the floor, 9 for 13 from 2. And you look up, and all of a sudden, a guy who has been struggling all season long, trying to find his role, trying to find a rhythm, just not consistently making shots like he usually does. The athleticism has taken a bit of a dip. All the noise in his last 11 games, yes, he's averaging 20, 11, and 3, but you look at the efficiency splits, 57% from the field, 42% from 3, 63% from 2, and 88% at the foul line. That's what you want, Obviously, you want more three-point volume, but that's a whole other conversation that we're not going to dive into today. We have been hammering that forever. Specifically, you know what the issues are there. Um, and yeah, he had one little rough sequence. I think it was at the top of the second quarter. Yeah, it was in those non-Brunson minutes. It was like a sequence. There was one where he's just dribbling around the entire possession. He takes it up, he dribbles in the half court, ends up taking a tough three, misses. Next time down, he drives into a turnover, has Shamit open, semi-open on the strong corner. Probably should have kicked, turns it over, and then the next time down, he gets an offensive foul. So that was a rough stretch. It helped Toronto, I think, creep within 4. But other than that, a really strong game for Cat on both sides, defensively and offensively. And that's another thing, man. Like the Cat Brunson dynamic is clicking, and it was clicking last night. Of course, not all teams have the personnel to use their defense to cross match Cat and Josh. So the Raptors weren't doing that as much, and the Knicks took advantage of that against the Raptors by going to a lot of Brunson Cat actions when Cat had the big on him, when he had Jakob Poeltl, right? And when Toronto switched it to take away the pick and pop, well, either Cat rolled to beat the switch defender who was high up, or Brunson took advantage of Poeltl in space. When Toronto didn't switch it to avoid the mismatch, Cat rolled downhill on Poeltl with momentum. The Knicks also went to quite a few of inverted actions with either like Brunson or Bridges screening for Cat because the Knicks knew that the Raptors weren't going to switch those. That got some good offense for them. They went to a few 3-man actions with Cat to take advantage of having the big on him. Cat is a playmaking hub. The Knicks would slip the screen, get a basket that way. Cat was screening. Very good, very strong in this game. He screened off Jakob Poeltl a lot. A lot of good rescreens to force overs. Like if Toronto initially shot under, he would rescreen to force the over. That would open up the pocket for either Brunson or Alvarado. And he was just rolling harder off the switch to get open, on his rolls. So, but, you just look back at this game and you look at how Cat got the majority of his baskets. You look at how Brunson got the majority of his baskets. You look at all the assists that Brunson was able to get. And the pattern there, the one theme is it's because Cat had the big man on him. And that also opened up other Knicks. It gave the Knicks room on back cuts because the big was up, having to worry about Cat shooting. You had Cat being doubled to help the big man, which opened up 3-point looks, put them in rotation. So it just opens up so much. So that I think is a big takeaway. But we're going to head to a quick break and probably wrap this thing up with a few more things when we return. Stay with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 1016 of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in to BD4. One thing I actually forgot to mention there as we were talking about teams putting the big man on Cat and how that's been a big conversation all year. I saw a really good post on Twitter the other day on X, and I want to read it because it's from one of a really good guy I follow. He's really smart with film and X's and O's and stuff. Just really gets into the detail. And I want to read it off here because it's from, if you want to follow him, DJ Ace NBA. at DJ Ace NBA on Twitter, and just talking about the Knicks offense when the big is on Hart and not Cat, right? When Hart's the offensive center. And so word for word, I'll read off this tweet here because it says a lot. Just very reasonable. The data on the Knicks offense with X5 on Hart is not good. So why has Mike Brown decided to stick with Hart in the starting lineup when the data suggests it's a mistake? I don't pretend to have the answer. I think it is some combination of A, he, like Tibbs, believes the Knicks can play better when defended in this way, and B, the non-measurables. Anyone that has done any coaching know the emotional status of the players is paramount. Frankly, anyone on the outside has poor visibility in this space. As I've mentioned here before, that is a significant information gap. I think a component to Hart starting is not something we have a metric for. I think the frustration with many is we have an abundance of metrics at our disposal. This is wonderful. More data is good, but one can certainly weigh these metrics too heavily compared to the intangible nature of basketball. How do you measure the value of a player's confidence? What if that same player provides intangible leadership qualities? Benching Hart in favor of a more dangerous shooter is reasonable. It is a stance backed by data. The difference in opinion among the fan base and among content creators is healthy. It has forced me to be better in analyzing the pros, cons in this area. The debate is robust, and that is beautiful. I am not anti-data. I am anti-absolutism. I thought that was really well said. You know, just in summary, to paraphrase, real simply put, for, you know, to dumb it down, just like there's a lot of things that we don't know, and there's a lot that data doesn't calculate. You know, there's more to it than these players are robots, just throw them out there and then plug in these lineups to get this. I think we can all agree. The one thing I would disagree with is, like, I think the majority of Knicks fans would agree that, like, the starting lineup is not great. I think the majority of us know that. I don't think it's like split. But yeah, point being, there's a lot more to it, and I do agree. And as I've been saying, I do think come playoff time, I think that's where I'll save my biggest criticism. Because as much as I can't stand the Josh Hart, Karl Towns lineups, you know, I love Hart when he's with Mitch. I love Cat when he's with, you know, 4 other shooters, or Cat when he's with Mitch, to be honest with you. I think is fine. I do think, like, yes, there are other factors to it, as we've discussed. But with that said, we're going to wrap this episode up. And up next for the Knicks, obviously they've got another game tonight, the second of their back-to-back against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that'll be fun. The good thing is the Knicks are back home. I am sure that SGA is playing. Pretty sure that's why he sat last night. I don't know the status of iHeart. I don't even know how long he's been out, or if it was just a one-night thing, to be honest. I have not paid attention to the Thunder all year. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure SGA is going to play. That's obvious. Nothing on iHeart yet. But I don't know how the Knicks are going to treat this game, because they obviously played Mitchell Robinson yesterday because the Knicks just don't value out-of-conference games. They consider the more important thing that half game in the standings. Going to, you know, you don't get that half game in the standings when you play a Western Conference team, is what I'm trying to say, but you do when you play an Eastern team. So that's the way the Knicks are looking. So this could be a punt game for them. You know, if somebody's slightly banged up, I wouldn't be shocked if they just sat them. So Mitch is not going to be there. We'll see regarding Hart. I know he got banged up a little bit last night. Brunson's usually questionable, just because he's always getting banged up. The nature of his play style at that height. But so we'll see who plays and who doesn't. But I would advise any sane Knicks fan to not overreact to this game. But I'm sure, like they do with top teams, they will, because that's the nature of us, right? We like to overreact. But I wouldn't take this one with too much seriousness. But they have OKC tonight, and then they head out west for their big West Coast trip. They've got Denver, both LA teams, Utah, and Indiana before they head back home. So it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet they got starting tonight. So we'll see. We'll see how they handle it. But with that said, let's wrap this episode up right here with our trivia question. And our trivia question for today: who was the Knick to drop 40 points in New York's first ever game against the Toronto Raptors? Okay. Who was the Knick to drop 40 points in New York's first ever game against the Toronto Raptors? All right. So that's our trivia. That's our episode. I appreciate everybody. I really do appreciate you for tuning in. And thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I'll see you very soon. Go Knicks. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.